Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everyone on our panel today. Today's hearing is the first of what I hope will be an ongoing effort by the committee to conduct meaningful oversight over SBA's COVID-19 relief programs. As I've said before, I supported Administrator Guzman's confirmation to the SBA as a good faith effort to work with the administration. A good faith effort, I hope, will include SBA providing my office with the programmatic data and information necessary to adequately evaluate the agency's implementation of the PPP and EIDL programs. That request has been put in writing to the SBA. Now that Administrator Guzman has been sworn in, I hope to begin to see improvements in the transparency so that Congress can properly evaluate SBA's programs. What we do know is that Washington has spent over $1 trillion on small businesses relief, yet thousands of small businesses have permanently closed throughout the country due to Orwellian lockdowns and capacity restrictions. Meanwhile, the SBA's COVID-19 emergency programs have been rife with fraud. The SBA Inspector General and the Government Accountability Office have released report after report with startling revelations on the lack of internal controls at SBA. SBA has never been equipped to handle grants and loans at this volume, nor should they be. The Inspector General, Department of Justice, and the Government Accountability Office have only scratched the surface on waste and fraud and improper payments and ineligible entities obtaining funding through the Paycheck Protection Program and EIDL programs. In one case, brought by the DOJ, conspirators fraudulently applied for close to 90 PPP loans worth over $24 million. At least 42 of these fraudulent PPP loans were approved and funded for approximately $17.4 million. On top of this, KPMG, as looking at the audits, has discovered that KPMG could not successfully have completed SBA's yearly audit due to several financial control weaknesses and missing information. Despite all of this, evidence of rampant abuse within its programs, SBA is yet to conduct a formal fraud risk assessment for either the PPP or EIDL programs. So 11 months and 25 days since these programs were signed into law, and SBA has not even assessed the fraud risks of either program. While that is not required by law, GAO has recommended the agency do this, and I think the American taxpayers expect for this basic due diligence. Meanwhile, the administration is requesting an extension of the PPP program to a new class of eligible entities. When my colleagues on the other side of the aisle discuss small business relief, they often tout bipartisanship. We have seen the PPP and EIDL programs funded multiple times on bipartisan basis, but let's not forget that just a few weeks ago, a entirely partisan $1.9 trillion package that expanded PPP to new class of entities despite abundant evidence that the pandemic is waning. As we all know, PPP will expire on March 31st. If Congress is going to continue to extend this program, let's at least be honest to the taxpayer about who is going to benefit. The truth is that the majority used a partisan reconciliation process to change the program to benefit large nonprofits and labor unions. Extending the program would also continue to provide incentives for states and local politicians to keep restrictions on our businesses and the economy. As we saw in the last week's Small Business Committee hearing, the unintended consequences of the lockdowns and the unseen consequences of policy decisions are large and tangible. The time to reopen our economy is now. The Paycheck Protection Program served its purpose of emergency relief, and now our relief efforts need to look different as the country begins to open and people resume their lives. I look forward to hearing from our government panel today and receiving an update on where the programs stand.